The rain hammered the windshield like it had a personal grudge, turning the winding Pacific Coast Highway into a blurred nightmare of taillights and slick asphalt. I gripped the steering wheel tighter, my heart pounding harder than the storm outside. Because Victoria Hale, my unflappable Ice Queen CEO, had just texted me at 10 p.m. On a Friday, "Get here now. It's urgent." And then, as if the universe wanted to twist the knife, my phone buzzed again with a single photo attachment, a grainy black and white snapshot of two women locked in an embrace, their faces half-shadowed, but one unmistakably her, younger, wilder, with eyes that screamed secrets. I'd barely parked my beat-up Honda in the circular drive of her Marin County mansion when the front door flew open, spilling golden light onto the downpour. Victoria stood there, silhouetted like some gothic romance heroine, her silk blouse clinging to her curves from the spray. "Madeline," she said, her voice cracking over the thunder. "You came." But it wasn't gratitude in her tone, it was desperation. The kind that made my stomach drop. Because in 3 years at Hale Tech, I'd never seen her anything less than armored in boardroom steel. She pulled me inside before I could stammer a hello, the door slamming shut behind us like a gunshot. The foyer was a cavern of polished marble and abstract art that probably cost more than my annual salary. But all I could focus on was her hand on my arm, warm, trembling, worlds away from the cool detachment she wielded like a weapon at work. "What's going on?" I finally managed, shaking rain from my curls as she led me toward the study. "Your text. That photo. Who is that?" Victoria froze mid-stride, her back to me, shoulders tensing under the wet fabric. When she turned, her blue eyes, usually sharp as shattered glass, were raw, unguarded. "It's me," she whispered. "And it's everything I never wanted you to see." Before I could process that, she thrust a leather-bound journal into my hands, its pages yellowed and dog-eared. "Read it. All of it. Then decide if you still want to stay." I sank into the leather armchair by the roaring fireplace, the storm raging outside like it mirrored the chaos blooming in my chest. Victoria paced the Persian rug, a glass of scotch clutched in her fist, while I flipped open the journal. The handwriting was hers, elegant loops and slashes, but the words? They were a grenade lobbed straight into my carefully curated life. Entries from a decade ago, when she was Vicky Hale, a 25-year-old barista in a dingy Seattle coffee shop, not the tech titan who built an empire on AI ethics. And woven through the ink were confessions of a love that burned hot and fierce. Elena, a fiery Latina artist with tattoos snaking up her arms like vines, who painted murals on abandoned warehouses and kissed Victoria like the world was ending tomorrow. Their story unfolded in frantic scrawls, late-night walks along Puget Sound, stolen moments in Elena's cluttered studio where paint smeared their skin like war paint. Victoria wrote of the terror of coming out in a conservative family, the thrill of Elena's laugh echoing off brick walls, the way their bodies fit like puzzle pieces forged in fire. She made me believe in forever. One entry read, dated July 14th, 2012. Tonight, under the stars, she asked me to run away with her. To New York, Paris, anywhere but this suffocating town. God, I want to. But what about med school? What about the life they expect? I glanced up, my throat tight. Victoria had stopped pacing. She leaned against the mahogany desk, watching me with an intensity that pinned me in place. "You don't have to finish," she said softly. But her voice begged me to keep going. And I did. Because how could I not? The journal devolved into heartbreak. Elena's diagnosis, Stage 4 breast cancer. Aggressive and unforgiving. Victoria's entries turn jagged, filled with hospital vigils and Elena's weakening grip. She says it's okay to let go, Victoria had written in a trembling hand. But how? She's my oxygen. Without her, I'm just empty. The final pages were a blur of grief and rage. Elena died on a crisp October morning. Her last words a whispered live big, Vicky. For both of us. Victoria spiraled, dropped out of med school, fled to Silicon Valley, reinvented herself as the cutthroat CEO who never let anyone close. But the photo she'd sent? It was from their last good summer. Taped inside the back cover, Victoria and Elena, arms wrapped tight, grinning like fools at a pride parade, rainbow flags whipping in the wind. I closed the journal, my hands shaking. The fire crackled, casting shadows that danced across Victoria's face, highlighting the fine lines around her eyes, lines I'd always chalked up to boardroom battles, not buried sorrow. Why show me this now? Asked, my voice barely above the rain's roar. After summoning me here like it's some corporate fire drill, she crossed the room in 3 strides, dropping to her knees in front of me, a gesture so vulnerable it stole my breath. Because tonight, at the gala, I saw you across the room laughing with that investor, and it hit me like a freight train. You're the first person since Elena who's made me feel alive. Not just surviving, but alive. And I can't do this halfway. Madeline. Not with you. Her confession hung in the air, thick as the scotch on her breath. I'd always admired Victoria from afar, her poise, her brilliance, the way she commanded a room without raising her voice. But admiration had twisted into something deeper over late-night strategy sessions, her knee brushing mine under conference tables, stolen glances that lingered too long. I'd buried it under professionalism, convinced a woman like her 35, divorced from a sham marriage to appease investors, would never look twice at her 28-year-old black assistant with student loans and a tiny studio in the Mission. But now, with her hands on my knees, I was pleading. The dam broke. I cupped her face, thumbs tracing the damp strands of auburn hair framing her cheeks. Victoria, I murmured. I've been in love with you since that team-building retreat in Napa. When you defended my pitch against those Silicon Valley bros like it was your own heart on the line. Our lips met then. Tentative at first. Then hungry. A collision of grief and longing that tasted like rain and redemption. We tumbled onto the rug. The journal forgotten beside us. Our bodies rediscovering what words couldn't capture. Her touch was electric, mapping the curves of my hips with a reverence that made me ache. In the dim glow, I saw flashes of Elena in her tenderness, the way she whispered my name like a prayer, the soft press of lips against collarbones. It wasn't jealousy that stirred in me, it was honor, carrying forward a love she'd thought lost. Hours blurred into dawn, the storm easing to a drizzle as we lay tangled in sheets upstairs, her king-sized bed overlooking the bay's misty expanse. Victoria traced lazy circles on my stomach, her voice a husky murmur against my neck. Stay, she said. Not just tonight. Build this with me. No more hiding. I wanted to say yes. To dive headfirst into this whirlwind. But as sunlight pierced the clouds, my phone buzzed incessantly, missed calls from my sister in Oakland, texts from work about a leaked email. Reality crashed in, sharp as shattered glass. I need time, I admitted, sitting up, the cool air raising goosebumps on my skin. This. It's everything. But your world. Victoria, it's a shark tank. And I just found out there's blood in the water from a decade ago. She nodded. No trace of the CEO's defensiveness. Just quiet understanding. Take all the time you need. But know this. Elena's ghost isn't a rival. She's the reason I know how to love like this, fierce. Without apology. As I dressed, she slipped the journal into my bag. Read the rest on your own terms. And come back when you're ready. Driving back to the city, the journal burned a hole in my passenger seat. The hook had sunk deep. Victoria's past wasn't just a story. It was a mirror, reflecting my own fears of vulnerability. I'd grown up in a strict Baptist family in Atlanta, sneaking crushes on girls in gym class, coming out at 19 only to face my father's silent disapproval. Moving to San Francisco was my reinvention. But love? I'd armored myself too. Dating casually, never letting anyone pass the picket fence of my heart. By the time I pulled into my parking spot, the weight of it all pressed down. Work emails piled up. Hailtech's big AI ethics launch was tomorrow, and as Victoria's right hand, I was knee-deep in revisions. But beneath the deadlines hummed a deeper current. What if loving her meant unraveling my own carefully stitched seams? That afternoon, holed up in a coffee shop near the office, I dove back into the journal. The entries post-Elena were brutal. Victoria's numb march through grief counseling. Her first foray into venture capital as a way to live big, funding startups that champion queer rights and women's health. But buried in the margins were hints of something darker. A cryptic note about the letter, and the choice that broke us both. What letter? My pulse quickened as I pieced it together. Elena hadn't just died of cancer. There was a shadow of assisted dying. A private decision in Oregon's lenient laws, where Elena, in unbearable pain, had begged Victoria to help her end it. Victoria's words clawed at me. I held her hand as the drugs took her. It was mercy. But God. Feels like murder. How do I live with this stain? The guilt had forged her, the relentless drive, the emotional fortress. No wonder she kept everyone at arm's length. She'd been carrying this alone for 10 years. I slammed the journal shut, tears blurring the latte art. This wasn't just romance, it was a reckoning. Did I want to love a woman whose hands held both creation and destruction? As the sun dipped toward the Golden Gate, my phone lit up with Victoria's text. Launch prep at 7? Or my place again? My thumb hovered, heart splitting in two. The Hailtech launch was a spectacle, crystal chandeliers in the Moscone Center. Venture capitalists in bespoke suits mingling with influencers snapping selfies. I stood backstage, clipboard in hand, directing the AV team while stealing glances at Victoria on stage. She was magnetic in a tailored emerald gown that hugged her like a second skin. Her voice steady as she unveiled our AI platform for detecting deepfakes in election ads. In a world of shadows, she said, locking eyes with me for a split second that felt eternal. Truth is our rebellion. The applause thundered. But backstage, chaos erupted. My assistant rushed up, face pale. Mess. You gotta see this. She shoved her phone at me, a Twitter thread blowing up. Anonymous screenshots of emails from Victoria's early VC days. Accusations of insider trading. Hushed-up conflicts of interest. And worse, a photo of Victoria and Elena. Captioned the truth behind Hailtech's Saint. Euthanasia cover-up? My blood ran cold. How? The journal's secrets. Leaked like poison. I pushed through the crowd to Victoria, who was cornered by reporters. Her smile a brittle mask. Not now, she hissed to them. grabbing my wrist and pulling me into a side room, a storage closet reeking of dust and old banners. Who did this? I demanded, showing her the thread. Her face drained of color as she scrolled, landing on a username at Echoes of Elena. It's her sister, Victoria breathed. Maria. We had a falling out after Elena blamed me for everything. I thought she'd moved on. The pieces clicked. Maria. Elena's fierce protector. The one who'd found the journal years ago during estate cleanup. Victoria had bought her silence with a settlement, hush money for the mercy killing, that could tank reputations in conservative circles. But grudges festered. And now, with Victoria vulnerable, opening up to me, Maria struck. Betrayal twisted in my gut. Not just Maria's, but Victoria's omission. You paid her off? I whispered, voice breaking. And you didn't tell me? What else are you hiding? Victoria, is this us just another transaction? She recoiled as if slapped, eyes flashing hurt. It was protection for Elena's memory, for the work we're doing. I was ashamed. Madeline. Ashamed of the love that led to that choice. But with you, I wanted clean. I wanted us to be the truth. The door rattled, reporters shouting questions. I backed away, the walls closing in. I need air. Bursting out into the alley behind the center. The city's neon haze swallowed me. Rain started again. A fine mist that did nothing to cool the fire in my veins. My phone exploded. Sister calling. Colleagues texting concern. But all I could see was Elena's photo. Victoria's journal. The fragile bridge we'd built crumbling under lies. I drove aimlessly, ending up at Baker Beach as dusk bled into night. Waves crashed against the shore, mirroring the storm in my soul. I'd fallen hard, imagined mornings tangled in her sheets, building a life beyond boardrooms. But secrets bred doubt. Was I her redemption arc? Or just a balm for old wounds? Hours passed, my fingers numb from the cold sand, until headlights swept the lot. Victoria's sleek Tesla pulled up, her silhouette emerging like a ghost. She approached slowly, skirt hiked for the uneven path, stopping a few feet away. I told Maria to stop, wired her double to bury it. The thread's down, legals on it. Her voice was raw, stripped bare. But that's not why I'm here. I came to say, if you walk, I get it. I deserve it. But no, I love you, Madeline. Not as a fix or a phase. As the woman who sees me, all the jagged edges, and stays anyway. Tears mixed with rain on my cheeks. The ocean roared its indifference. But in that moment, humanity felt vast, forgiving. We'd both carried ghosts, mine from judgmental pews, hers from a bedside vigil. Love wasn't erasure, it was excavation, digging through the dirt to find gold. I stood, closing the distance, our foreheads touching as thunder grumbled distant approval. We tell the truth, I said fiercely. All of it. To the board, the press, hell, to the world. Elena's story. Your choice. Let it be our rebellion. Victoria's laugh was watery, relieved. Together. Always. We kissed there on the bluff. Salt spray and city lights are witnesses. The past not buried but blooming into something unbreakable. Hailtech weathered the storm. Victoria's transparency turned scandal into strength. Donations pouring in for end-of-life advocacy. And us? We built slowly. Quiet dinners in her kitchen. Weekends hiking Point Reyes. Her hand in mine at Pride. Honoring Elena with every step. It's been a year now. And as I watch Victoria sleep beside me, journal tucked on the nightstand like a talisman, I know. Love isn't a mansion or a merger. It's the courage to question everything, and choose each other anyway. The morning after Baker Beach. Sunlight filtered through the mansion's floor-to-ceiling windows like a hesitant apology, gilding the rumpled sheets and the faint bruise on Victoria's collarbone from my grip the night before. I woke first. My body aching in the best way, muscles loose from release, heart still tender from the night's confessions. She stirred beside me. Auburn hair fanned across the pillow like a halo. Lips parted in sleep's soft vulnerability. For a moment, I just watched, tracing the rise and fall of her chest, marveling at how this woman, who could dismantle a rival startup with a single email, looked so utterly human in repose. Coffee brewed itself in the state-of-the-art kitchen downstairs, a perk of her smart home setup that felt absurdly extravagant after my drip machine back home. I padded barefoot across the heated tiles, scrolling news on my phone while the machine hissed. The scandal had mutated overnight at Echoes of Elena's thread was gone, but screenshots lingered on Reddit and tech forums. Hail Tech CEO's dark secret, euthanasia ties? One headline blared from TechCrunch. Comments ranged from vitriolic, murderer in heels, to empathetic, grief is messy, give her grace. My stomach nodded. Transparency sounded noble at 2 a.m. On a windswept beach. But in daylight, it was a tightrope over lava. Victoria appeared in the doorway, robe loosely tied, carrying 2 mugs. Black. 2 sugars, she said, handing me one with a wry smile. Figured you'd need fortification. She leaned against the island, sipping her own straight espresso. No frills, her eyes scanning my face like she was reading code for bugs. Talk to me. Matt. What's the verdict? I set the mug down, the ceramic warm under my palms. It's not just about the leak. Last night was real. But today, your world's imploding. And I'm the junior exec who's suddenly in the splash zone. What if this tanks my career? Or yours? Her laugh was low, self-deprecating. Careers rebuilt. Hearts? That's the fragile code. She stepped closer, fingers brushing mine. But if you want out, no judgment. I'll promote you to a rival firm myself. With a glowing rec, the offer stung. A reminder of the power imbalance we danced around. Me 28. Bootstrapped from Spelman College on scholarships and grit. Clawing up Hail Tech's ladder one all-nighter at a time. Her 35. Heir to old Seattle money funneled into tech. Widowed by Elena's illness and remarried briefly to a beard for optics. Our worlds collided in sparks. But friction bred fire or ash. I'm in, I said finally, lacing our fingers. But we do this right. Joint statement. Therapy for the guilt. And date nights, no work talk. Her grin lit the room brighter than the bay view. Deal. Starting with brunch at Zazie? My treat. San Francisco's fog clung to the hills like a bad habit as we drove into the city, her Tesla humming silently through traffic. Zazie was a Coal Valley staple, cozy patio strung with lights, the air thick with brioche and lavender. We claimed a corner table, ordering avocado toast and mimosas, our knees bumping under the wrought iron top. For the first time, conversation flowed easy. Her love for obscure jazz vinyls, Coltrane's A Love Supreme on repeat during Elena's chemo nights. My secret hobby of urban sketching, pad always in my bag. Charcoal smudges on my jeans. Laughter bubbled up, genuine and light, chasing shadows from her eyes. But bliss is fleeting in this town. Midway through my Eggs Benedict, my phone vibrated, a call from HR. Madeline, we need you in the office. Now. Board emergency. Victoria's fork paused midair. Go. I'll handle the bill. The Hailtech HQ in Soma was a glass fortress of innovation. But today it felt like a pressure cooker. The boardroom overlooked the Bay Bridge. Sunlight glinting off cables like warning signals. Seated around the obsidian table, grizzled VCs in loafers, our CFO with her perpetual frown, and Victoria's mentor, a silver-haired lesbian icon who'd mentored her post-Elena. I slipped in last, heart hammering, as Victoria stood at the head, unflinching. Gentlemen. Ladies, she began. Voice steel wrapped in silk. By now you've seen the rumors. They're not rumors. 10 years ago, I assisted my partner's dignified death under Oregon law. It was love, not crime. And it shaped Hailtech. Our ethics AI stems from that pain, ensuring no one suffers in silence. Murmurs rippled. The CFO cleared her throat. Victoria. This could crater stock prices. Investors flee scandal. Then let them, Victoria shot back. Her hand finding mine under the table. A secret anchor. We'll pivot to mission-driven funding. Queer orgs. Palliative care nonprofits. Transparency isn't a liability. It's our edge. I squeezed her fingers, then spoke up, surprising even myself. I've seen the code. Our platform detects deception. If we hide this, we're no better than the deepfakes we fight. Own it. And we lead. The room shifted. Heads nodded. By meeting's end, a plan coalesced. Press release co-authored by us. A donation fund in Elena's name. As we filed out, Victoria's mentor pulled me aside. She's been adrift since Elena. You ground her. Kid. Don't let go. That evening, back at the mansion, we uncorked champagne on the terrace, non-alcoholic for me, after a lifetime of church-bred teetotaling. The city twinkled below, a constellation of possibilities. Victoria raised her flute. To questions answered. And one still worth asking. Our toast led to tangled limbs on the outdoor chaise, the cool air nipping at exposed skin as hands explored with newfound boldness. She was reverent, mapping my thighs with kisses that whispered apologies for years of isolation. I was bold, nails grazing her back, drawing moans that echoed off the hills. In the afterglow, wrapped in a shared blanket, she confessed more. The sham marriage to a gay colleague for tax breaks and optics ended amicably but leaving her wary of labels. I didn't want to taint you with that mess, she murmured. Taint? I propped on an elbow, tracing her jaw. Victoria. I'm black and queer in corporate America. Mess is my middle name. We're stronger in the dirt. Her eyes softened, pulling me close. Sleep came easy that night. Dreams laced with Elena's mural, vibrant colors bleeding into our own story. But harmony's a tease. 2 weeks later, conflict brewed not from leaks, but legacy. Maria called Victoria during a strategy call, speakerphone on. My laptop open beside hers in the study. You think a press release erases it? Vicky. Maria's voice crackled, thick with East LA accent and old wounds. Elena's family deserved more than your guilt money. Now you're parading her ghost for PR. Victoria's face paled. Maria. Please. This is healing for all of us. Healing? You killed my sister. The line went dead. I reached for her, but she shrugged me off, storming to the balcony. Rain threatened again, clouds gathering like uninvited guests. Following, I found her gripping the railing, knuckles white. She hates me, Victoria whispered. And she's right. I played God that day. The words hung heavy. A chasm opening. I'd read the journal, understood the mercy, but hearing it raw cracked something in me. You gave her peace, I said, wrapping arms around her waist from behind. But what about yours? Or mine? Loving someone who's still chained to that room. She turned. Rain starting to fall, soaking us both. Then unchain me. Matt. Show me how to live without the weight. Our kiss was fierce, urgent, a battle against doubt. But as we stumbled inside, clothes shedding like old skins, I wondered, could love rewrite guilt's code? Or was it just debugging the surface? The next month blurred into a rhythm. Boardroom battles won. Media interviews where Victoria's candor charmed skeptics. My sketches evolving into a joint art exhibit for Elena's fund. Murals of resilient women. Victoria posing as my muse. Dates wove normalcy. Ferry rides to Sausalito. Her teaching me chess on the living room floor I won once. Crowing triumphantly. Intimacy deepened. Lazy Sundays where we'd cook gumbo from my grandma's recipe. Her head in my lap as I braided her hair. Stories swapped like treasures. Yet betrayal's shadow lingered. One crisp November evening, prepping for a gala honoring the fund, I rifled her desk for stamps, innocent enough. A drawer stuck, then gave way, spilling letters bound in ribbon. The top one, postmark Seattle, 2013, Maria's handwriting. You think money silences blood? Elena's paintings are family's heirlooms. You stole them in your grief purge. My breath hitched. Stolen art? I flipped through. Invoices for Elena's canvases. Shipped to a storage unit under Victoria's name. Not stolen, save, perhaps, from Maria's bitterness. But the optics? Toxic. Confronting her that night, gala dress half-zipped, felt like wielding a scalpel. Why keep this from me? I held up the bundle, voice steady despite the quake inside. Victoria sank onto the bed, gown pooling like spilled ink. I was protecting you from the mess, from choosing sides. Maria's pain is valid, but those paintings, they're Elena's soul. I couldn't let them rot in spite, protecting or controlling. The words slipped out, sharp as regret. You decide what truths I get. Like I'm an intern, not your partner. Her eyes welled. I'm terrified, Madeline, of losing you to my failures. The gala loomed, but we skipped it, curled on the couch instead, dissecting wounds over takeout foe. She admitted the hoarding, canvases in the attic, untouched shrines. I shared my fear of being the rebound, the safe black girl who checks diversity boxes. Vulnerability bridged us, tears and touches mending the rift. Retrieving the paintings became our quest. We drove to the storage unit at dawn, dust motes dancing in headlight beams. Unzipping tarps revealed Elena's genius, bold strokes of lovers entwined, cityscapes alive with queer joy. Victoria traced a frame, whispering, she'd want this out in the world. We donated them to the fund's exhibit, inviting Maria via certified letter, share her light. No strings. Her reply came weeks later, a terse acceptance, then coffee. The meeting in a No Valley cafe was electric with tension. Maria, 40-ish with Elena's dark curls and fire, eyed us warily. This better not be another buyout. Victoria slid a photo across. Us at the beach. Post-confession. It's restitution. And an invitation to the opening. To Elena's legacy. Maria's facade cracked. Tears falling into her latte. She loved you, Vicky. Flawed as you were, forgiveness wasn't instant. But it seeded hugs exchanged. Plans for joint advocacy. Through it, our love solidified. A quiet wedding in Big Sur 6 months later. Just us. Officiant. And the ocean's vow. No mansion fanfare. Wildflowers and my vows etched on journal pages. I question everything, I said. Ring slipping on her finger. But never us. Yet drama peaks before peace. On our honeymoon hike in Yosemite. A call shattered idol. Hail tech hacked, proprietary AI code stolen. Traced to a disgruntled ex-employee with Maria ties? Paranoia flared. Was redemption a ruse? Climax crashed that night in our tent. Storm winds howling. Do you trust me? Victoria demanded. Lantern light flickering her doubt. With my life, I lied. Then truth tumbled, but not blindly. We investigate together. Dawn brought clarity, hack internal. No conspiracy. Just human error. A reminder, betrayal's often self-inflicted. Back home. We thrived, fun booming. My promotion to so. Elena's murals inspiring a scholarship. Victoria's guilt eased into advocacy. My sketches sold for the cause. Love, we learn, is humanistic chaos, betrayals forged. Conflicts conquered. Emotions the glue. 1 year on. Balcony rain our ritual. I whisper. Question everything except this. Winter wrapped San Francisco in its signature chill. The kind that seeps into bones despite layers of cashmere. Our first holiday season together unfolded like a tentative symphony. Victoria's mansion transformed with twinkling lights and a towering Fraser fir she chopped herself in Tahoe. Axe swings captured on my phone for posterity. Her cheeks flushed from cold and uncharacteristic goofiness. I introduced her to my family's Kwanzaa traditions via Zoom from Atlanta. Kinjumatoki steaming on the stove as Mama grilled her. She treat you right, baby girl? No corporate games. Victoria, perched beside me in flannel pajamas, leaned into the camera with that disarming smile. Mrs. Rivers. I'd walk through fire for Madeline. Promise. Mama's approving nod sealed it. Even Dad unmuted to gruffly add. Keep her safe out there. Safety, though, proved elusive. The Fun's launch gala at the De Young Museum was a glittering affair, velvet ropes. Champagne flutes etched with Elena's initials. Canvases glowing under spotlights. Victoria in emerald velvet. Me in a sleek gold gown that hugged my curves like liquid sunlight. We glided through the crowd. Her hand possessive at my waist. Whispers of congratulations, masking the undercurrent of envy from old flames and rivals. Maria arrived fashionably late. A vision in crimson with a young woman on her arm. Her partner, Sophia. A soft-spoken curator who'd helped authenticate the paintings. Their entrance turned heads. Reconciliation buzzed like fine wine. Over hors d'oeuvre. Maria pulled Victoria aside. Their heads bent in earnest converse. I watched from afar. Sophia chatting me up about Elena's influences. Frida Kahlo's unapologetic queer fury. But the night's hook twisted midway. A tipsy donor, face ready from Merlot, cornered Victoria near the Basquiat exhibit. Heard about your little Merseyside hustle, he slurred. Voice carrying. Euthanasia chic, bold marketing. Hale. The room hushed. Forks paused. Victoria's posture stiffened. But before she could retort, I stepped in. Glass raised like a shield. Bold? Try compassionate. Unlike some, she doesn't profit off pain. The donor blinked. Stammering retreat. But damage rippled, whispers escalating to a viral clip by night's end. We fled to the mansion post-gala. The Tesla's wipers battling flurries that dusted the windshield like confetti regrets. Silence stretched until Victoria shattered it. You didn't have to defend me. I can fight my battles. I shot her a sidelong glance. The bridge's light streaking past. Since when is love a solo sport? That man's a relic. Your past isn't a punchline, she sighed, fingers drumming the wheel. But it is. Matt's. Always will be. Tonight reminded me, I'm toxic code. You deserve unscarred. The words landed like a slap, echoing my deepest fear, that Elena's shadow would eclipse us. Parking in the drive. Rain turning to sleet. We argued in the foyer, voices rising over the storm's howl. You think shielding me makes you noble? Hurled. Coat dripping. It makes you lonely. And loving you makes me reckless, she countered. Eyes blazing. What if my baggage drags you down? The board's watching. Investors whispering. You rising because of me. Betrayal's ghost reared. Not just the donor's jab, but the unspoken. Had she leaked more to test waters? Paranoia. Unfounded. But potent. I grabbed the journal from the hall table. Pages splaying open to Elena's photo. This? It's not baggage. It's you. And if you can't own it with me, we're done. She snatched it back. Tears carving tracks. Done? After everything, I chose you over safety. Over silence. Thunder cracked. Lights flickering. In the blackout, we collided not with fists, but bodies. Desperate and devouring. On the rug, candlelight from the study our only glow. We stripped defenses bare. Her sobs muffled against my neck. My nails etching promises on her back. Climax came in waves. Crashing like the bay's tide, release not just physical, but cathartic. Ghosts exorcised in gasps and grips. Dawn brought fragile peace. Curled in bed. Sleet tapping windows. Victoria traced my spine. I called the donor, full retraction demanded. Or lawsuit. And therapy weekly. For us both. I nodded. Kissing her temple. Group sessions for the fun too. Normalize the messy. Spring unfurled with renewal. Cherry blossoms dusting the Presidio paths where we'd walk. Leashed rescue pup. A scruffy mutt named Echo in tow. Hailtech's stock rebounded. Ethics AI licensed to news orgs worldwide. My promotion solidified. Sketches turned book. Shadows to light. Queer grief in silicon shadows. Co-authored with Victoria's foreword. But humanism demands depth, not fairy tale gloss. Maria's thaw revealed cracks. Her own survivor's guilt. Sophia's quiet battle with infertility echoing Elena's losses. We formed a triad of sorts. Monthly dinners at her Oakland row house. Laughter laced with tears. Stories swapped like heirlooms. One night, over tamales, Maria handed Victoria a locket, Elena's, with a tiny photo of them three. She'd say you're doing her proud. Both of you. Summer peaked in Big Sur. Anniversary hike mirroring our wedding vows. Sweat-slicked trails led to a cliffside overlook. Ocean vast below. There, amid wild mustard blooms, Victoria knelt not proposal, but reckoning. I questioned everything once after Elena. Thought love was finite. You proved infinite. Tears pricked. I pulled her up. Rings glinting in sun. And I questioned a CEO in a storm. Found my forever. Fall circled back. Leaves turning the headlands gold. The mansion, once echoing, hummed with life. Our pod. Expanded family. Elena's canvases rotated in the hall like breathing history. Betrayal's scar faded to lesson. Conflicts the forge. Emotions the fire. Romance the bloom. On a crisp November eve. Balcony ritual renewed. Rain our old friend. I lean into Victoria. What now? I tease. She smiles. Hand on my swelling belly, our IVF miracle. A nod to futures Elena never saw. Now, we live big. For all of us. And in that humanistic arc, dramatic falls. Romantic rises. Emotional truths we question no more. Just embrace.